All right, folks. So Donald Trump just had his big meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and a bunch of European leaders. And let me tell you, this thing had everything. Awkward jokes, billion-dollar arms deals, Trump pretending he's a peacemaker, and Europe trying desperately not to roll their collective eyes. Honestly, it felt like watching your drunk uncle at Thanksgiving suddenly declare he's going to solve world peace while still wearing gravy stains on his tie. So let's break this down, because this summit wasn't just about photo ops. It revealed a lot about Trump's foreign policy style, how Europe views him, and how Zelensky is just trying to survive this circus and protect Ukraine. One of the big headlines here is that Trump floated the idea of giving Ukraine European-led security guarantees, kind of like a NATO light. Not full NATO membership, but a promise that Europe would have Ukraine's back if Russia attacked again. Now, Zelensky called this a major step forward. And look, when you're literally fighting for your country's survival, you'll take what you can get. But let's be real. This is Trump we're talking about. The guy who has spent years trashing NATO, threatening to pull the US out of alliances, and cozying up to Putin like they're middle school BFFs. So, forgive me if I don't exactly trust Trump's sudden passion for collective defense. It feels a little like putting your dog in charge of the neighborhood cat rescue. Like, are you sure this is the guy you want leading the effort?
First of all, Mr. President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, looks good on
I
you.
said the one that attacked you last time. See, now he's I remember that.
Yeah, I apologize to you. You look wonderful. No, my first question for you, President Zelensky.
In the same suit. You see, I changed, you are not.
Maybe yours is much better. Real quickly, upon peace, God willing we get peace, are you open to holding an election in your country?
Yes, of course. We are open for election, yes. We have to do safety circumstances. And a little bit, we need to work in the parliament, because during the war you can't have elections, but we can do security. We need, maybe, how to say, we need a truth, yes, everywhere, in the battlefield, in the sky, in the sea, yeah, to make possible for people to do democratic, open, legal elections.
So you say
we're ready.
during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now, so you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections. Oh, that's good. I wonder what the fake
You like
news
this
is
idea?
gonna say.
No.
Speaking of news, I got a question for you. This sounds insane for me even to ask this, but do you think the American media really doesn't even want a peace deal because they've been so critical of you every step of the way as you lead the charge for peace?
It's an amazing phenomenon. I said that if in the settlement you got Moscow, St. Petersburg, and thousands of miles around them, they would say, I made a bad deal. The level of hatred and animosity is incredible. Not with all.
Now, here's where things get weird. Remember a few months ago when Trump and Zelensky's meeting turned into a shouting match? Yeah, apparently they've moved on because this time it was all smiles and compliments. Trump even joked about Zelensky's outfit, like saying he looked sharp in a suit. And honestly, that's progress. Trump complimenting a world leader instead of insulting their tie, their accent, or their family tree? That's basically diplomacy 101 for him. But let's not be fooled. Just because he's cracking jokes doesn't mean he's suddenly a stable statesman. This is still the same guy who thinks foreign policy works like a real estate negotiation. Okay, Volodymyr, I'll give you security guarantees, but only if you name your next kid Donald. Here's the real showstopper, though. Trump announced he's trying to set up a direct meeting between Zelensky and Putin, maybe even a three-way summit with himself in the middle. Because, of course, Trump wants to be the star of his own peace deal reality show. Now, let's think about this. Trump playing mediator between Ukraine and Russia? That's like letting the arsonist negotiate with the fire department. The guy who spent his presidency bending over backwards for Putin now wants us to believe he's going to deliver a fair peace deal? Please. The only thing Trump is likely to negotiate is which hotel he can build in Kyiv once the war is over.
Mr. Chancellor from Germany, a very great leader.
Mr. President,
Please.
dear Donald, many thanks for having us today. I think this is extremely helpful that we are meeting and hearing that the two of you are having such a good meeting today here in Washington. The next steps ahead are the more complicated ones now. The path is open. You opened it last Friday. But now the way is open for complicated negotiations. And to be honest, we all would like to see a ceasefire, the latest from the next meeting on. I can't imagine that the next meeting would take place without a ceasefire. So let's work on that, and let's try to put pressure on Russia, because the credibility of these efforts we are undertaking today, are depending on at least a ceasefire from the beginning of the serious negotiations from next step on. So I would like to emphasize this aspect and would like to see a ceasefire from the next meeting, which should be a trilateral meeting wherever it takes place.
Well, we're going to let the president go over and talk to the president, and we'll see how that works out, and if we can do that. I will say, and again, I say it, in the 6 wars that I've settled, I haven't had a ceasefire. We just got into negotiations, and one of the wars was, as you know, in the Congo was 31 years long. Another one that we settled last week with 2 great countries was 35 years going on, and we had no ceasefire. So if we can do the ceasefire, great. And if we don't do a ceasefire, because many other points were given to us, many points were given to us, great points.
And then there's the ceasefire issue. Trump says talks don't need a ceasefire. Basically, let's negotiate while the bombs are still falling. Which is like saying, yeah, let's discuss divorce terms while I'm still cheating on you. Meanwhile, European leaders are standing there like, nope, hard pass. We need a ceasefire first. Germany's leader literally said he cannot imagine talks without one. Because, Europe is actually next door to this war. They don't get to sit on the other side of the Atlantic and treat this like a TV episode of The Apprentice War Edition. Oh, and let's not skip the money talk. There's talk of Ukraine buying about $90 billion in U.S. weapons, with Europe helping foot the bill. $90 billion. Folks, that's not a peace summit. That's a Black Friday sale for the Pentagon. And Trump was loving it. Because what's his vision of peace? Apparently, peace equals everyone buys more American weapons. Imagine pitching that as a Nobel Peace Prize submission. I solved the conflict by making everyone spend billions on missiles. You're welcome.
President Zelensky, can I ask President Zelensky a
I
question?
think the good news, we make the best military equipment in the world by far. You mentioned the Patriots. How good are they?
Systems.
We
air
have
defense.
systems, they're literally 100% foolproof. And it's really like shooting 2 bullets, 2 bullets hitting each other in the air in a space like this. The chances, 100%. It's 99 to 100%. So we sell the equipment to NATO. And NATO does what, I don't know what the arrangement is that you have with, but I know that they want you to have the equipment. And we're getting the best equipment in the world, but they pay us for the equipment. Under Biden, it was just crazy what was going on. I believe the number is over 300. I think it could be $350 billion worth of equipment and money and everything else. And we've made more progress in settling this war in the last 2 months than they made in 4 years. This should have been settled a long time ago, but it should have never happened.
To be fair, there were some serious humanitarian issues raised, like the kidnapped Ukrainian children Russia has taken. Zelensky and European leaders made that a big point, and that matters. But here's the thing. Trump's entire approach reduces those real human tragedies into bargaining chips in his game. It's transactional. It's, I'll get the kids back if I get good press. It's never about actual empathy. With Trump, diplomacy always has the same question at the end. What's in it for me? So, what do liberals take away from this whole meeting? Trump is playing diplomat cosplay. He wants the headlines, not the hard work. Europe doesn't trust him. They smiled for the cameras, but they're the ones who have to deal with Putin at their doorstep, and they know Trump has always been Putin's biggest cheerleader. Zelensky is just trying to survive. He'll take any promise he can get because Ukraine is bleeding. But relying on Trump is like relying on a paper umbrella in a hurricane. At the end of the day, this meeting looked good on TV, but the reality is, nothing concrete changed.